Star running back Hollywood Smothers has announced he will return to NC State football in 2025. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. Hollywood in Rollywood.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Friday opening sponsor is FanDuel. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place just a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 back in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Head on over to FanDuel in order to get started. Happy Friday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we got the CJ Bailey announcement earlier in the week. We get the Hollywood Smothers announcement to close the week, and it is a big one. Hollywood Smothers was a large portion of the offensive success to close the year. He had 2 touchdowns against the Dirty Foot Club. He had 2 touchdowns against Stanford in what was his best game of the year. He was a star on the offensive side for the back half of the season, and we can't emphasize enough how important it is to get him locked in for 2025.
Absolutely. You know, we included him in the Locked On Look of the Week against Cal because he does this little thing where it looks like he's in the Matrix. He's there 1 minute, and then he's just not anymore. You know, defenders are left quaking in his trails because, I mean, he's a extremely elusive back. You know, I joked about it before. Him and Bossman D-Lo are both Mr. Too Slippery. You just can't get him down. And I'll tell you this much. Another year in the weight room, another year of getting comfortable with the offensive line, another year of, and I understand the offensive line is going to be seeing some massive turnover, but another year of him understanding the guys who are in front of him and how, all right, this is how he normally blocks inside zone. This is how he normally blocks outside zone. It's going to be a good time. And not to mention, he can be a good weapon in the passing game too.
Yep. He's
a good receiver as well. So I believe the Locked On Look of the Week from the Cal game was on the screen. So he's a guy that, you know, he can do multiple things for you. He's legit and, you know, he's legit when it comes to just being a football player. And I remember when he came, one question I was asked a lot by certain listeners was, you know, Raleigh, especially NC State, tough, hard-nosed, hand in the dirt type of school. Would a guy named Hollywood blend into that? I think we have our answer. I think we have a definitive answer in that because while he is this slippery, elusive guy, he also runs with a quiet power to him.
He does.
To where it's like, if you're not paying attention, you'll miss him run through some arm tackles and all that. So Hollywood was phenomenal this year. I'm excited to have him back in 2025 and beyond.
He's certainly not the biggest guy in the world, but he'll let you know something when you meet him in the A gap. He is too slippery. He's too fast. And all of this is only going to get improved again with that extra year using Coach Thunder's abilities. You talked about it already, but his dual threat ability, both as a runner and as a pass catcher, we're still scratching the surface with what I think we can get out of Hollywood. Average 5.8 yards per carry, average 13 yards per catch. 5.8 yards per carry is insane. That's easily just one of the reasons why so many of us were pounding the desk asking for Hollywood to receive the bulk of the carries. And I think that's exactly what you're going to see as we move into the bowl game and into 2025. That kind of just increases the importance when you already know you're bringing back CJ Bailey. Now you know you're bringing back Hollywood Smothers. Shoring up the offensive line just got that much more important. We got firsthand experience at the end of the season what Hollywood can do when the gaps are opened up just wide enough for him to bolt through them. He is electricity at the running back position. So we can't be more excited that he's coming back. And I think all of this, you also include that he is an awesome personality. Anytime he's in one of the media clips from NC State football or you hear him speak in an interview, he's just a fun guy to listen to.
Yeah.
We talk about this a lot, but in this new world of the transfer portal and NIL, guys want to play with guys like Hollywood Smothers. You want to be a teammate with a guy that has that personality that he's going to lift up everyone around him. He's going to demand the best out of you. And he's technically just a freshman, but he acts like a senior. And so leadership qualities like that in such a young guy with his ability, that is the building blocks of a great core.
I think it's interesting that you talked about how many yards he averaged per carry, 5.8. Do you know how many yards Ashton Genty averaged last year per
Something
rush?
close.
6.1.
Ooh.
I'm not saying, because I know 0.3 yards in terms of per rush, that can turn you up a little bit. That's not a joke. That's not a small task. But I look at that and I say to myself, you've got to believe that this guy can do some pretty special things. And then on top of that, you look at who he is as a running back, but you look at what we have coming back as well. And again, just feed the beast, man. Just feed the beast. He needs to be the counterbalance to all of those elite pass catchers. And the best running backs in this conference, right? Bashard Smith and Omarion Hampton, I believe, were the first team All ACC guys. How many yards do you think they're averaging per carry?
Is it close to what Hollywood did?
5.9 and 6.
Yeah, okay, it's right there. Yeah.
It's right there. He's right there. You've just got to feed him. And I understand when you've got a quarterback like ours and you've got, a passing game like ours, you want to lean on that as well. But I think that you can strike up a good balance here with some average play calling. I'm not even saying you've got to have Ben Johnson out there just scheming up wide open. I'm saying with average play calling, you can easily find yourself in an offensive situation where you're dominating guys because you are taking advantage of a running back like Hollywood up against receivers like Noah Rodgers, Wesley Grimes, Dakari Collins, Justin Jolie if he decides to come back. This is a great group of guys. And again, I'm not going to say, hey, it's Charlotte or bust next year. But what I will say is this group could be extremely special offensively.
Retaining guys that gave you the most production on offense, that's always going to be a good thing, regardless of how that season went. And so getting CJ back earlier in the week and now getting Hollywood back to close the week, we talked about this after the Dirty Foot Club win, what the biggest offseason priorities were. Those two guys were, in my mind, they were 1 and 2. And to get those both locked down in a matter of less than a week, that is exactly what NC State needed to accomplish this week. They wasted no time in doing it. That is fantastic. But now, what you hope to come out of this is more of those dominoes start to fall. Hopefully you do see guys like a Noah Rodgers and fingers crossed a Justin Jolie. In my mind, I said this already, that would be like the biggest retain that NC State could possibly have over the course of this offseason. But we'll see. Hollywood Smothers is a really big deal. We are overjoyed that he will be running with the pack in 2025. We also got Brandon Cisse and Sean Brown.
I was just about to say, Brandon Cisse and Sean Brown are in there as well. So, we can't forget those two guys because defensively, I think they're going to be big, big, big parts of what we want to do defensively. In Tony Gibson style, even if you don't have Tony Gibson, you cannot have enough good corners in today's football. When you look at teams that their base packages are 3 or 4 wideouts, guess what you're going to need to cover them? Not a linebacker. That sure as hell ain't going to get it done. So I look at this and I say, Cisse, great job of getting him locked up. Sean Brown, position versatility, scheme versatility. He can do a lot of things. Where is he going to play next year? It's interesting to see. I think he did a fine job at linebacker. I really do.
He was our best linebacker.
I wouldn't say that, he needs to go back to safety because he didn't show me anything there. My question is, what do we have at safety right now? If we have the type of safeties to where we need a linebacker, leave him down at linebacker. But if the need is not there at linebacker, we can move. Or actually, if the need is there at safety, I'd rather have him there than at linebacker. But we'll see.
Yeah, the 4 guys that we have announcements from, they were the 4 best at their respective positions. That's exactly what you want to hear 1 week after the regular season closes. So 4 announcements. Of course, Hollywood Smothers and CJ Bailey are the 2 biggest ones, respectfully. We could not be more excited about how this offseason has started so far. But coming up next, we're getting into more of the details. The college football world is about to move extremely quickly after this weekend closes. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Friday sponsor is Mint Mobile. I love a great deal just as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy, no hoops, and no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for just $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out it truly is that easy to get wireless service for just $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, head on over to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege to cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month. All of their plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Head on over to Mint Mobile to cut that wireless bill down to just $15 a month. That's mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. There's a $45 upfront payment required. New customers on the first 3-month plan only. Speeds are slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Middle portion of our Friday show. Mentioned this before the break. The college football world is about to spin only a little bit faster here as we get a little bit deeper into the offseason. Obviously, this is conference championship weekend. We're going to make our picks for all of those games here in just a second. But most importantly for NC State football, the transfer portal is officially open for business starting Monday. They revised the windows for the transfer portal from last year to this year. This year, there's a 20-day winter window. That is December 9th, which is Monday, all the way down to December 28th. The portal will then close and will not reopen until a 10-day spring window in April 16th to the 25th. So with both of these windows shortening from last year, and the first one is about to open on Monday, it's about to get crazy. All the names you've already seen enter their name in the transfer portal, that was just announcing their intent to enter. On Monday, and then the couple days following Monday, you're going to see a wave of names hit the portal. Some may be NC State names. Other names are going to be everywhere across the country. It's going to get crazy. So for NC State, the priorities that you have marked down on your list, which hopefully includes offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and linebackers as your top 3, and they got to hit the road running.
Yeah, I believe that is the window for guys to enter the portal. Is that correct?
Monday is when you can officially enter, but I think you have to be in there by
Yes.
December 28th.
I got you. And I'm going to tell you this much. When the portal starts up, when the portal gets ringed, we're starting to see the portal enough to where guys are starting to figure out, hey, the grass ain't always green.
Yeah.
If a guy is intending to hop in the portal this year, I think it feels like, hey, this is legit. He's not coming back, whatever the case may be. And with that in mind, you have to be aggressive in seeking out players who are plug and play right now type of guys.
Yeah.
You have to be extremely aggressive in that, because if you are sleeping, if you are moseying in any way in this new era of the portal, you will get left behind. There's no if, and, or buts behind about that. This group, this team going into next year, better in the trenches, better at linebacker. Period. There's no question or doubt in my mind that when I look at what this team did at linebacker this last year, it wasn't good enough. It was nowhere near good enough.
Yeah.
It hurt us at many points. And again, I'm not expecting Isaiah Moore, Peyton Wilson, and Draco to walk through that door. That's not what I'm expecting in terms of, hey, this is what our linebacker core needs to be. I'm not expecting Terrell Manning and Nate Irving to walk through that door. I'm not expecting like, hey, that's what we need or else. If we don't get that, we're not happy. But I am expecting competent linebacker play at minimum. And don't get me wrong, some of these guys getting older will push us there a little bit, right? You look at a Kamal Bonner, you look at a Sean Brown, you look at some of these guys and you say, okay, them getting another year of experience under their belt will get us there. Cade Fordham getting back healthy will get us there. But we still just need better play at that position, which means we need better players at that position.
Yeah, and I think linebacking is probably the most intriguing position for me as we enter this cycle, because you got to figure Caden Fordham, who tears his ACL in mid-October, pretty unlikely that he'll be ready to go in terms of fall camp. That'd be a 9-month recovery. The recovery times are getting shorter these days, but I don't know if it'll be that short. So I'd have to imagine that Caden Fordham won't be ready for kickoff in 2025. But I think regardless, you'd have to go in the portal for at least one linebacker, because you got to figure Devon Betty's going to be moving on. Wyatt Wright announced that he'll be transferring. Jalen Parker announced that he's transferring. That's at least 3 guys that are moving out. And again, we're going to have to see if any more of those names will be added onto the list. So it certainly poses the opportunity for the underclassmen. And here's my quota for saying the name Elijah Groves on an episode. He's starting to get really active on Twitter, and I think he's going to pick up a lot of traction with the fans, if absolutely nothing else.
Hold on, Grayson. Hold on. Huh. Elijah, drop the after pictures. We need to see the after pictures, Elijah.
Said he put on, 30 pounds over the course of this season?
Now, listen, normally you would never catch me asking a man for pics, but today it's a special occasion for multiple reasons. Go on and drop the after pictures, Elijah. I want to see what that filled out frame looks like, because I have no doubt in my mind that he, I'm hearing that he's a monster. I'm hearing that he's bigger and stronger and faster. I'm going to tell you something. Hey, call me a bad guy if you want to, but I think that if Elijah Groves is even 3/4 of what we think, he will be pushing Sean Brown for best linebacker right away. Right away. I have no doubt in my mind about that. I heard that he was just too light last year to play, which it makes sense if you looked at him. He did look a little wispy for a linebacker.
Most freshmen are.
Yeah, but I need to see. You dropped the before picture without the after, Elijah. Don't play with us like that. You know what we need, and we need it now, Elijah, or Mr. Groves, rather. I'm going to put some respect on your name, Mr. Groves.
Something I have heard about Elijah Groves, again, not my words, but I'm just going to repeat what I have heard. He is Peyton Wilson-esque. He has similarity in his frame. He's 6'4", 230 now. He's fast. I think he noted that he can run like a 4.6 or something when he was DMing other recruits. Freak of nature. And Tony Gibson literally called him a monster verbatim. I think it was the ACC road trip before the season kicked off. Let me see Elijah Groves in this bowl game. Just let us see it. Even if it's just like 1 or 2 series, just let us see what this kid can do. Because if he turns out, like Kenta was talking about, to be even just 75% of what we think he can be, he could end up being very special here at NC State. But yeah, regardless, I would expect them to take at least one linebacker in the portal. We're going to talk a little bit more about the quarterback position because that's one of the Fan Friday questions here in a second. But NC State's going to have to get busy very quickly. We mentioned Tony Gibson. I have a little bit of a small update. Keep your eye on Marshall in the next week or so. Marshall's actually playing in the Sun Belt Championship against Louisiana. Their situation with their current head coach is a little bit odd, being that they are in the Sun Belt Championship, but it would seem that Marshall does not want to retain him going into next year. Tony Gibson appears to be a finalist. I also saw that people were tracking some planes, and one went from Huntington, West Virginia to Raleigh and back. So that would indicate potentially there is something going on behind the scenes here. Definitely keep your eye on Tony Gibson and Marshall here in the coming week. We talked about this earlier on Monday. It would be a tough loss for NC State, but not exactly one that's unexpected.
The coaching carousel and the transfer portal remind me a lot like one of my favorite songs off the new album, GNX. Things get crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious, because the news of the news of Coach Gibson leaving, that would definitely potentially be a very sad thing. And I'm saying him potentially leaving because I've heard the same thing as Grayson, that he may be headed back to the great state of West Virginia. Yeah. But with that in mind, I've also heard of much worse things, like our most hated nemesis being down so bad that they go from Mac Brown to another spring chicken.
Please let that happen.
That's 8 months younger than him and asking for a guarantee that his son is the head coach in waiting.
Guaranteed nepotism is crazy.
Hey. You know what I mean? I just look at my pops like, why you ain't put me on like this? You know what I mean? But with that being said, the coaching carousel and the transfer portal, folks, you just got to understand this is the new way of the game, okay? This is the new way of the game. And one last thing before we get into, before we go to break and get into Fan Friday. Stop saying, wow, you're announcing that a player is coming back. That's not an announcement. What happened to the game I love? The labor started getting paid, friends.
Yeah.
That's what happened to the game you love. I'm sorry to tell you, yes, it is very different. Yes, it is something that we have not seen before. But if you are a college sports fan, you always know the name on the front much more important than the name on the back. Because the names on the back are guaranteed to time out of the system within 4 to 5 years. That's a guarantee. You do not see guys in college for 7, 8 years unless it's Allen Bowman or Case Keenum. That's it. Everybody else, you get your 4 years, maybe 5, and then you're gone. So that window may have shortened, but you still cheer for the red and white of NC State. These guys are getting paid now. Things are changing now. That's okay. We don't need to complain about it every single year when this time comes around.
Love it or hate it, with the emergence of the transfer portal, no one is guaranteed from year to year. Absolutely no one. There are no guarantees. Anyone can go at any time. So it is more or less an announcement every time that we do have a star player announcing they want to come back. That's just the world we live in now. So it's great to see guys want to come back, and I think it should be celebrated when they decide to do so. Real quickly, before we change subjects, we're just going to go down the list of conference championships and give you our picks. First one for Saturday, Kenton, Big 12 championship, Iowa State, Arizona State. Who you got?
Ooh, this is tough. Give me Matt Campbell and the boys. Iowa State wins a close one over Arizona State.
I agree. I'm going to take Iowa State. However, my heart wants Arizona State to win this game. I think they've had an excellent season. They're a great story. It would be cool for them to win, but I think Iowa State gets it done. SEC championship, Georgia and Texas. Who you got?
Texas ain't beat nobody all year. Georgia stumps a mud hole in them boys. Go Dogs.
Yeah, Georgia smoked them the first time around. I think they're going to get them again. Give me Georgia over the Longhorns. Sun Belt championship, like we just mentioned, Marshall and Louisiana.
This is tough. This was probably the one I had the most difficulty picking. I would probably say Louisiana because of some of the inner workings and problems that Marshall is having. Give me Louisiana in this one.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Give me the Raging Cajuns. Big Ten championship, Penn State and Oregon.
Penn State is the Chrysler 300C of college football. They look like a really good team until an actual good team shows up. They look like just the same way a 300C looks like a Phantom until an actual Phantom pulls up. Oregon is going to do them boys the worst way. I am telling you something. They're going to send those Nittany Lions back to Happy Valley looking very unhappy.
Dan Lanning is one of my favorite coaches in all of college football. He's going to have Oregon ready to roll. There is no stakes that are too large for the Ducks this year. They're going to beat the Nittany Lions. And last one here in the ACC, Clemson and first-year team SMU.
I got the Stangs winning this one, not just because of my love of Sherwood Blunt and the Boosters, but because they're a consistent team that stops the run better than anybody. They're swarming, they're physical, they're fast, and they can play from behind. They are not just front runners, but if they get a lead, Brashard Smith is coming. Kevin Jennings is coming in that running game. So, and I think they have the best group of receivers in terms of returning in the conference. I really and truly do. I think SMU gets it done, and they do something that NC State hasn't been able to do in quite some time, which is win an ACC championship.
I would definitely feel like some secondhand embarrassment if SMU ends up winning this game, their first year in the conference. However, it's hard for me to hear Clemson, an ACC championship, and believe that somehow they're going to lose that game. I think they're just going to get it done because they're Clemson. They kind of have like that dark magic that we talk about, like the Kansas City Chiefs having. Clemson, for some reason, is somewhat similar to that in the ACC, and I think the Tigers will get it done on Saturday in Charlotte. Kenton, you're going to be in the house for that one. Hopefully it will be a good game. Switching gears into Fan Friday coming up next, addressing our top comments of the week. Our second Friday sponsor is FanDuel. Tackle NFL action all season long on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in just one singular place. When you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the very same page that you're placing all of your bets. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to join today. You'll get started with $150 back in bonus bets if that first pesky $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com in order to get started. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Last couple minutes of our Friday show. Now time for Fan Friday, addressing our top comments of the week. Here we go. First one comes from Toast803. They say, for those upset about the extracurricular activity after the game, get over it. As a result, a nationally irrelevant game is being mentioned among other rivalries. Remember, 4 of the rivalry games mentioned across the nation involve irrelevant ACC. So yes, this is in context to all of the flag planting hubbub from this past weekend. My take is this: if you don't like it, win the freaking game. If you don't want another team to plant their flag on your field, you had 4 quarters and 60 minutes to do something about it. And that goes deeper than just a Dirty Foot Club or whoever else. Ohio State, if you don't want your rival to dance on the 50 and run up the score and get the crowd involved, then beat them. I don't want to hear anyone crying or all of a sudden you want to show some fight after the final whistle. That is some sucker stuff. I almost lost our clean rating. That's some sucker stuff. If you don't want that to happen, then do something about it. This type of stuff is what makes college sports. The rivalry, the aggression, the pageantry. This is why we love it so much. And people wanting to fine schools and suspend guys, that is so unbelievably lame. And I know Kirk Herbstreit was one of those guys. I typically am a Kirk guy. Awful take from him on that. I don't want to see repercussions from people celebrating a win in rivalry week. What are we talking about? Let the players play, let them celebrate, and let fans be fans. This is ridiculous.
Almost every team that was on the flag planting side this time had other teams, if not the exact team that they played, either plant their flag or intentionally tear up their logo in the last decade.
Yeah.
Every single team. 2 teams planted their flag in the big house this year. We all remember Ebron and the Dirty Foot Club dancing and spitting on our logo, stomping all over our logo. We all remember that. And so I think it's so interesting how the guys who can dish it, the same folks who, when it's their turn, when they've got the gun, is, oh, yeah, I'm the big man. I'm going to have my fun. I'm going to do my thing. And the minute you're not anymore, oh, we need to fight after the game. And not to mention, them boys got beat up too. That's how you really know. That's how you really know you're not made for this life. You're not cut out for this. But I do agree with Toast's point that nationally relevant games are being mentioned among others. To think, I always longed for the day that people would mention NC State and the Dirty Foot Club alongside the game. And here we are. Here we are. It happened. Maybe not for the reasons I like, but it happened. So, I agree. Nationally irrelevant now becomes relevant. Hey, I'm all for it.
Next one comes from Mr. Abzu. They say, looks like we're headed for yet another practice session for backups bowl game. At least they will get in some valuable reps against a team with fewer no-shows. The timing of the transfer portal has made some bowl games a bit lopsided and unwatchable. I definitely agree with this. I think the opening of the transfer portal right after the regular season and guys jumping in it, all of those guys that announce their intent to leave or officially announce when it does open, I've had some people ask us if that means they're going to play in the bowl game. Like 99% of the time, it means they will not play. It's very rare occurrences like a coach is going to leave or something like that. Like, for example, Jordan Waters last year, he played the bowl game for Duke before heading over to us, even though he had already announced. So that's a very rare occurrence. There's definitely some truth to the bowl games losing some of their mustard. They don't quite matter in the same way that they used to. However, we talked about this a lot for NC State specifically. It's so valuable for all of the younger guys to get snaps for an extra month, not just in practice, but then play one more time in a little bit of like a vacation. It's like a celebration for their season. There's still something to play for, and that matters for a lot of the young guys. So there's definitely an aspect where some of these bowl games are not quite like a real matchup because star players will sit out for whatever reason, but it's going to be valuable for our guys nonetheless.
Yeah, and, I do agree that, like you said, some of the mustard's gone because of all of the portal stuff and all of the guys opting out. But I will say this. There are still plenty of very entertaining bowl games throughout the season. In NC State this year, how many guys are we going to have opt out or not play?
I would say like maybe Davin Van, and that's it. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, so KC's already gone.
Right.
Davin Van, maybe Aiden White.
I think he should play, if we're being honest.
Hey, what we think should happen and what likely will
Yeah.
may not be the same. But though, if we are being aggressive with opt-outs, those three, who else is opting out? Maybe offensively, Big Belton. Maybe.
Again, I'll say it. I'll put it to you this way: a couple guys that we thought have really good bag years in terms of the NFL draft, they might need this game to help their stock.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying, even if we went super aggressive and said, hey, these guys, we know they're going to the league, so they're going to be prepping for the combine as opposed to the game. I just named 4 guys.
Yeah, I think that's like a maximum 4.
So I think NC State will be just fine here. But I think the larger point that you're making about some bowl games losing their bite, I get it. We saw it last year with Florida State and all that. And I'm going to tell you something. Deion Sanders at Colorado absolutely has the right idea about this when he said, we're not opting out. My guys aren't opting out because that rollover and quit, it permeates throughout the team. And so having so few guys opt out, that is very important because we've seen it in this conference. Guys, massive amounts of guys opt out. You get blown out. Then all of a sudden the next season, all of the juice is gone. All of the vim and vigor is gone. So, I get it, but I don't think NC State will be that deeply impacted.
Next one comes from Alex Fulford. He says, remember, guys, CJ didn't get an offseason as the guy. Imagine the progress that can be made this coming season. So, yeah, this speaks to our point of, the valuability. Is that a word? Valuability of the younger guys getting all of these snaps into the bowl game. CJ Bailey.
The value would be the word you're looking for. The value.
I like valuability better. CJ Bailey getting these snaps as the guy, knowing that he will be QB1 in 2025. You can certainly feel how valuable that will be for a kid like that. And just getting thrust into the light as a true freshman and having to lead the team for 75% of the year, honestly, probably even more than that, knowing that he will be the guy. And the offensive line knows that he will be the guy. The skill players know that he will be the guy. That's so valuable for building chemistry all through the rest of this month, through the bowl game, and then into spring ball. I can't wait to see how CJ uses all of this extra time to his benefit come spring and then next fall. But this is a really, really big deal that you already have the guy and knowing that he's going to give you everything he's got for these next couple months.
Remember what happened when we gave Devin Leary a full off season as the guy? Not the year he got hurt, but the year before that one, where he was ACC preseason player of the year. That's the type of growth that I could potentially see with CJ here. Another year getting comfortable, another year learning offense, another year of learning, hey, against this coverage, this is generally going to be open. This is where it's going to pop. This is how corners see this thing in college. This is how they break on it. It's going to be a great time. Like Grayson said, the valuability of it all is massive. It is massive, and we ought to greatly value the idea of, like you said, not only him having a full season or a full off season, but him having a full off season and 3/4 of a season. You can go out and recruit based on that. You can go out and recruit based on, hey, listen, we have CJ Bailey here playing so amazing that if Will Wilson is to take his spot, he has to be one of the greatest things to slice bread. Either way, we're set up in a fantastic position at quarterback. Come run with the pack. That's something that we have not been able to say. How many times have we been able to go into the offseason from the year before and say, we've got a guy that meets all of the following criteria. He looked good the year before, multiple years of eligibility left, has already been at NC State. When's the last time we were able to say that in recruiting?
It was 21 going into 22 with Devin Leary. So like one time in the last 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, I think that it's a huge deal that we have CJ entire off season to being the guy.
I don't want to run us off on a tangent, but real quickly, with CJ committing so quickly and getting Hollywood Smothers back, do you think this means that they already know who the offensive coordinator will be and that it might be Robert and I?
Maybe. It might be Robert and I. It might be elsewhere, but either way, I think they're following the logic that many recruits, or that all recruits should follow. Commit to the school, not a coach. Commit to a school, not a coach. Because at the end of the day, coaches come and go. The university is the university. And not just from a standpoint of the degree, a standpoint of the degree and the fan base and all the other things that go with it. How do you like the city where the university is, all that type of stuff. So whether or not they know Anai is the guy, or whether or not they know, hey, we're going out to get such and so to be our coordinator, I don't know. But what I do know is they're committed, and I'm excited about it.
I'm just going to choose to put my faith behind your logic. Last one here from Johnny98335. He says 100% get a QB from the portal. I say get one from a smaller school who doesn't mind coming in and being a backup, like Jack Chambers. Let Will Wilson redshirt next year and learn from CJ and whoever the backup is, and then have Will be the backup in 2026. Ultimately, let him take over when CJ leaves. So, yeah, we mentioned this earlier in the week. I do believe this to be the best scenario to play out as far as the quarterback situation goes. I think that you should go get a QB from the portal just for that guy to be QB2 as an effective backup for CJ. If anyone else in the country knows, as well as NC State does these last couple of years, you have to have insurance behind your starting quarterback, because all it would take is one injury to CJ Bailey and the whole season could potentially be derailed. You got to have a guy that is willing and able to take over if that is the scenario. And that's not to denigrate Lex Thomas or freshman next year, Will Wilson. I would just have a lot more comfortability bringing in somebody with more experience. So I think that probably will be the scenario. You also want a guy that can push CJ a little bit. I don't think there's going to be a quarterback competition by any means, but you want a guy that makes CJ even more competitive through camp and into next year. I'd be kind of shocked if we don't go get one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. We love us some Lex Thomas on this show. And I would love to see him as like a more than capable backup or whatever the case may be. But I'm not upset at going to get a small school backup, especially if it's free, right? You don't turn down free DoorDash. That's just not, you're not going to do that. But with that in mind, Will Wilson's going to be here. Lex Thomas is going to be here. Don't overpay on a backup quarterback out of the portal, but I think you need somebody out of the portal to kind of potentially be a guy that if anything goes wrong with CJ, we've got something that we're like, we don't have to burn Will Wilson's red shirt, and we'll be good enough. He may not be a guy we win because of, but he'll be a guy we win with.
That'll do it for us here on Friday. Thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us what you think about Hollywood Smothers officially returning to Raleigh in 2025. Tell us what you think about the portal opening on Monday and how aggressive NC State needs to be in it in order to get what we need to get before the season begins. Anything else you have on your mind, drop those in the box as well. If you want to give us your conference championship picks, feel free to do so. I'd love to read them all. Anything else you have on your mind, let us know. Mash that subscribe button. We just hit 2,700 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you all so much. It's still staggering to us, even now, seeing these numbers continue to climb. Thank you all so much for listening to us. Anyone that's tweeted at us that we were in your top 5 on Spotify, that made me emotional. That was crazy to see. Thank you all so much for tuning in with us each and every day. We appreciate you each and every day. We'll see you all on Monday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.